as I'm writing this problem down, let me make sure we understand a big idea from yesterday's lesson and how that's connected to the previous math. Previously, we drew triangles, right? And we did the Pythagorean theorem. You solve for x, y's, and r's, and then you got your trig function, right? We're not drawing triangles anymore. We're solving them based off of given information, and we're basically using more algebra. If tangent of theta is equal to negative 5/3 and theta is in quadrant 1, find 2. I can see. Ha, look at all the students doing their last minute homework. We need to find which two trig functions. Secant and sine. Okay. Don't say anything, but this is what you're thinking of. You're thinking, how are tangent and secant connected? Let me tell you one that does not work. The quotient identity does not work. I have tangent and I need sine and cosine. Secant is a form of cosine, but I have an unknown in cosine and sine. So two unknowns can't help me figure it out. But I think I can use a... Someone said a what? Pythagorean identity? Huh. Which Pythagorean identity are you thinking of? The one that has tangent and secant in it. Pythagorean identity. Label each other off, A and B, and then partner B tell partner A what is the Pythagorean identity. Valerie, tell us the Pythagorean identity we're going to use. Tan squared yes? Can you repeat that again? I think we're missing something there, right? Ethan, can you help us with this one? Jocelyn, can you help us with this one? Plus 1 equals secant squared theta. Okay, so that is the Pythagorean identity we're going to use. I want to rewrite this tangent theta squared. So remember, these are synonymous. These are the same thing. Plus 1 equals secant theta squared. And we're going to put in tangent. So now I have negative 5/3 squared plus 1 equals secant of theta squared. Negative 5/3 times negative 5/3 is 25 over 9. How do you make 1 a fraction? Put over 1, and someone said 9 over 9, so this is really 25 over 9 plus 1, or plus 9 over 9. $25 plus 9? So I have 34 over 9 equals secant of theta squared. Class, how do I get rid of the power of 2? So the square root secant of theta, pay attention, plus or minus. Class, what's the square root of 34? Square root of 34 and square root of 9? 3. Now we're stuck. Is it plus or minus? Alright, so is it positive or negative?
Negative.
How'd you know that? So, all students take calculus. We're in quadrant 2. What do you know about quadrant 2? Sine and cosecant are positive. Secant and everything else is negative. Secant of theta equals negative radical 34 over 3. Raise your hand if you got that. And you could. You don't get extra credit. It just takes more time. If you have time on a quiz or test, you could draw your triangle, right? You could have said y over x and the Pythagorean theorem, solve for r, and then find out your other trig. Remember, our goal is to use the algebraic here. Okay. Talk to your partner now. How can we get sine? Ready, set, go. All right, Nicole, give us some ideas.
Use the reciprocal.
Reciprocal identity. Okay. What are you thinking of?
Cosine.
Okay, so if I use the reciprocal identity, how can I use that?
You can use the reciprocal to use cosine and background.
Okay, so if I'm thinking sine of theta, because I want to find sine, that would be 1 over cosecant. Do we have cosecant?
No.
Gotta try something else. Anything else, Nicole?
Pythagorean.
Okay, you said Pythagorean identity. Which one? I got one here. Start with this one.
Sine. Square.
Plus
Cosine.
cosine squared theta equals 1. Partner B, tell partner A, what do you think I'm going from with this? Ready, set, go. On the count of 3, we're going to say the next identity. Ready? 1, 2, 3. The reciprocal identity. Sine squared theta plus 1 over secant squared theta equals 1. Do you guys know what secant is? Oh, we just found it. Oh. Negative radical 34 over 3 squared. So let's go ahead and simplify this now. Isn't that the fun thing about math? It's like a puzzle, right? How do you use these puzzle pieces? They've given it to you, make the picture. Some of you do not turn the puzzle over and then draw the picture. That's not the point. So sine squared theta plus negative times a negative will be a positive. Radical 34 squared is just 34. And then 3 squared would be 9. So I have a fraction here. We'll do a side problem. 1 divided by 34 over 9. What's going to happen, class? Multiply, and then you take the reciprocal, so you have 1 times 9 over 34, which is essentially 9 over 34. So now I have sine squared theta plus 9 over 34 equals... What am I going to write here? Think ahead, think ahead. Chess. Yeah. Put over 1. This is really 34 over 34, right? Okay, so if I subtract now, think ahead. Sine theta squared means the same thing, right? It just means the angle of sine and then multiplied by itself. Equals 34 minus 9 is 25 over 34. What do I do next? Sine of theta equals what? Plus or minus 5 over radical 34. Someone said rationalize. Positive or negative? What quadrant are we in? We're in quadrant 2, so sign is positive. Neon green. Let's review. They gave me tangent. I know I'm in quadrant 2. We used the Pythagorean identity. We also used another Pythagorean identity and a reciprocal identity. The fun thing about it is this is not the only way to get these two answers. There's multiple ways, and these are just the ways that we chose.